Welcome to Theraband and Microband, lower body and abs. For this practice, you'll need one block. You might like to have a bolster for the end, or maybe a rolled up blanket. A Theraband, usually a stronger Theraband because you'll be working with legs. And also one microband, but if you do have a pack with a couple of different levels, you might want two different strengths, resistance. So we're going to start laying on our back. So we'll come into supine rest position where we have head onto the mat, maybe bringing your folded hand towel underneath the back of the head, just to give the back of neck a little bit more length. And then coming into wide feet, toes turned in, knees knocked together. So you're feeling the back of the pelvis is nice and broad. And then just walking the shoulder blades a little further apart and then up the mat. So you can feel the base of your ribs gets to open up, lower back softens. And then resting with the arms down beside the body, palms face up, back of neck long. And taking a moment to close the eyes and settle into the breath. Just noticing the breath moving in and out of the nose. Creating a smooth, steady flow of breath. Taking in a breath through the nose. And as you breathe out through pursed lips, blowing out 100 birthday candles with a taking a breath in through the nose. And then out through pursed lips. Just one more. Inhaling through the nose. And last one as you breathe out through pursed lips. And then coming back to the breath in and out of the nose. And see if you can feel a bit of breath moving into the sides of the ribs, the waist, maybe even the lower back. And then from here, we're going to take the arms out wide, palms face up. Separate the knees, so feet and knees are as wide apart, feet on the edges of the mat. And then starting to windscreen wiper the legs as you drop the knees to the right side. Inhale back to center, exhale to the left, and then rolling from side to side with the legs. Let's have a little bit of limbering up into the lower back and across the back of the sacrum, the pelvis. The next time you drop your knees to the right side, we're going to leave them there. And if you're comfortable to turn your head looking past the left hand. And then raising the right arm up towards the ceiling. I'm going to wrap the right arm around the lower ribs, fingertips to the back ribs. And then if you are comfortable to, pick the right foot up and rest the right foot on top of the left thigh. So you're getting a nice stretch all the way down the front of the left side of body, down the ribs, the belly, front of hips, thigh to knee. Just closing the eyes, come back to the breath in and out of the nose. And so you can expand the left ribs, the waist, the lower back as you breathe. Sinking a little deeper as you breathe out. For 3 more breaths. And then releasing the right foot, raise the right arm up, take the right arm out wide, head back to center. And then bring the knees back to center, drop the knees to the left. Maybe pick the head up, turn it towards the right arm. And then raising the left arm up, wrapping the left forearm around the base ribs, fingertips around back ribs, lower back. And if you're comfortable too, picking the left foot up, resting the left foot on top of right thigh. And breathing in, filling the space down the front of your right chest, ribs, belly, front of hip and thigh. And taking the breath into your left fingertips, right into those right ribs, waist and lower back for 3 more breaths. And then the front body expand as you breathe in. And then letting all that fascia down the front body melt as you breathe out. And then releasing your left foot, raise the left arm up, take the arm out wide, bring the head back to center. As you bring the knees back to center, bring knees in towards the chest, give them a hug. It's releasing through the lower back, realigning pelvis and sacrum. Little rock from side to side. Maybe pick the head up off the floor, tuck chin, nose towards the knees. And then releasing the head back onto the floor. Try and keep that long back of neck, chin and forehead parallel to the ceiling. And then with one hand on each knee, jellyfish the hips. One direction, nice and wide, and then back in towards each other. And then back the other way. And then as you bring the knees back to center, you're going to drop the right foot to the floor. Take your Theraband, we're going to place it around the ball of the left foot behind the toes. Have the band nice and flat up high over the back of the toes, and then we'll drop elbows to the floor and create a little bit of resistance on the band. So you can start to rotate the foot. There's a little bit of loosening up into the ankle, but also strengthening those little muscles in the foot, the ankle. And then back the other way. And then pushing out through the ball of the foot, so you're going to demi-point, bit of a stiletto shoe, an arch in the foot. So working into your calf. And then flex the toes back, so a nice flat foot like you're standing on it. Lengthening the calf, working into the shin. Demi-point and flex. And the next time you flex the toes back, we're going to bend the knee, bring the heel towards the buttock, and then push up through the leg. Bend the knee and then straighten. Just a little bit of limbering up into the knee joint. And we'll wake up to the hamstring. And the next time you've got the leg pushing up towards the ceiling, press up through the heel, flex back through toes. There might be a little bend in the knee. Maybe a deep bend. And then see if you can press down through that left sit bone. So you're opening up from the buttock crease right up to the crease at the back of the knee. And then up into those creases behind your ankle, your Achilles. And start to bring the toes a little closer towards the forehead. And if lower back's okay, straightening out the right leg. Back of neck long, shoulders, jaw relaxed for 5 more breaths, feeling that length from your left buttock crease to ankle. And then we'll take the elbows wide, so you've made like an upside down V shape with the band. And then sliding the heel from side to side. So working into the inner and the outer hamstring. And see if you can keep bringing the toes towards your forehead, so you've still got that length up the back of the leg. If one of these positions feels like it's giving you a good stretch, maybe you're going to hold it in that one spot. Or just sliding side to side if it feels about the same inner and outer leg. And then slowly bring the leg back to center, tuck the elbows back into the side body. And then either keeping that right leg straight or maybe knees bent, foot on the floor. Activate through lower belly. And starting to draw circles on the ceiling with your left heel. And you might find to rotate from the hip, you need to make a little bit more of a bend in the knee, because if your hamstrings are tight, you might restrict the movement of the hip joint. So maybe a deep bend in the knee, but as you rotate, drawing circles on the ceiling with that left heel, see if you can keep your pelvis as still as possible. So a little bit of tone through pelvic floor, lower belly. And that slow, smooth breath into side ribs, waist, back body, giving you support as you breathe. And then starting to wind these circles a little bit bigger, spiraling out. And spiraling the leg to as big as you're comfortable with, maybe helicoptering the leg. Just keeping the rotations really slow. And then back the other way. Just finding that full rotation of your hip socket. And then starting to spiral the circles in, making them a little smaller. And then eventually bringing the leg back to center where your leg is straight. So it doesn't matter if the leg's slightly away from you, just wherever it is that the leg's nice and straight, strong kneecap and thigh. If lower back's fine, right leg stays long. If you need to support your lower back a little, have that right knee bent, foot on the floor. And then take a breath in through the nose. And as you breathe out through pursed lips, feel those lower ribs dropping down towards the floor. Take a breath in through the nose. And as you breathe out through pursed lips, slowly lower your straight leg to a hover. Keep those lower ribs drawing down towards the floor. Push out through the ball of the toe. Inhale, raise the leg up. And then exhale, flex the foot. Keep the lower ribs down. Strong kneecap, thigh, strong belly, rib to hip. Inhale, demi point as you raise the leg up. Exhale, flex and lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, using your core, using that strong left thigh to lower the leg. Last one. Inhale, lift. And then exhale to lower. And then stop as you raise the leg up with that demi point. We're going to bend the right knee, foot on the floor. Keep the demi point of the foot and then walk your hands up the band. So you're getting a little bit more resistance, less band to work with. And then we're going to bend knee in towards the chest. And with a leg press, push out through the ball of that left foot. Or bring your thighs so that they're parallel. Bringing knee in towards the chest. And then push out through the ball of the foot, demi point as you straighten the leg. So you're working into your calf to get that strength and support through the back of the knee. And as you straighten the leg, thighs parallel, you've got kneecap lifting towards your hip. And just 3 more. And the next time you straighten the leg, we're going to walk the hands just that little bit further up the band so your arms are straight. And then maybe working without a block between the thighs for abdominal teaser, or if you do want to work a little more strongly through core, pelvic floor muscles, place a block in between the thighs. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, tuck the chin, give the block a squeeze, and without bending the elbows, let the hands glide up towards the foot, draw in through lower ribs, navel to spine. And then slowly roll yourself back down as you rest the head. Take a breath in, breathe out, tuck the chin, squeeze the block if it's there. Try and keep your thighs parallel if the block's not there. And then breathing in to roll yourself back down. If you're working without the block, as you exhale, pelvic floor, lower belly draws in. Enable the spine to peel the spine up off the floor. Inhale, roll back. Exhale, curl up. And if you're quite comfortable, you might do this without the band. Inhaling back. Exhaling, curling up. Just for 3 more. And see if you can keep the thighs parallel. Maybe you're squeezing that block or that imaginary block. Last 2. And the next time you roll yourself back down, bring that knee in towards the chest. Give the foot a couple of rotations. Back the other way. And then we'll place left foot on the floor. Bring the right foot up into the band. And then draw down on the band so you have a bit of resistance to work with. So elbows are on the floor and start making those rotations with the foot. So loosening up through the ankle, but also strengthening the little muscles in the ankle and the foot. Breaking down scar tissue, old injuries. And then going back the other way. And then finding your demi point, your stiletto shoe as you work into the arch of the foot, strong calf. Flex the toes back, work through the shin, and then demi point and flex. And the next time you flex the toes back, bend the knees, you bring heel to buttock, and then straightening the leg, waking up the hamstring. Keep the toes flexing back, so you're working into the shin and you're lengthening the Achilles, the calf, and as you straighten the leg, make the kneecap, the thigh really strong, so you're lengthening hamstring. And the next time you push up through the heel, hold there in a hamstring stretch. So you might have a bend in the knee, a little micro bend in the knee, but try not to lock the leg out straight. And if lower back's fine, you might have that left leg long. As you press up through the right heel, see if you can then press down through the right sit bone. So you're trying to open up that buttock crease and the back of the knee crease and the creases behind your ankle. And just finding that low, wide breath into side body, back body. And then taking your elbows wide, making an upside down V with the band. And then sliding the leg from side to side. So working into the inner and then the outer hamstring. Maybe there's a bend in the knee, but try and bring your toes towards your forehead. And if one spot feels like you need a little bit more stretch there, hold there for a few more breaths. Otherwise, it's gliding from side to side. And then bring the heel back in line with the hip, elbows tucked back into the waist. And then starting to draw circles on the ceiling from the hip. So you might get a deeper bend in the knee that'll release the hamstring slightly so that you get a bit more rotation movement through the hip socket. And see if you can keep pelvis as stable as possible. Slow, smooth breath, starting to wind the circles a little bigger. Remember, you can always keep that left knee bent, foot on the floor if lower back is finding this a little bit challenging. It's gradually spiraling the circles out a little bigger. And keep the circles really smooth and slow, so you're staying in contact with your core, keeping pelvis and lower back stable. And then going back the other way. Keep the circles nice and big as you're comfortable with. So it's finding that full range of the hip socket. And then starting to spiral the circles in, making them a little bit smaller. Spiraling in all the way to center. And then bringing the leg back to center, have the leg really straight. And it doesn't matter if the leg's away from you, it just depends on your hamstring length. But we want the leg straight. So you've got kneecap lifting, quadricep on, foot flexed. Take a breath in through the nose. And as you breathe out through pursed lips, lower the leg, keep those lower ribs in. So back ribs are on the floor. And then as you inhale, demi-point the foot, raise the leg back up. Exhaling, flex the foot, strong kneecap, thighs, strong belly from ribs to hips. Inhaling to raise up. And exhaling, flex the foot, straight leg to lower. So just rolling the foot just like you would as you walk, as you stride along. Just making those lower back muscles and the belly muscles work as a team to support the movement from the hip. So last two. The next time you raise the leg up with that demi-point, we're going to bend the left knee if it's not already, foot on the floor. Walk the hands up the band so you got a bit more resistance for your leg press. Tuck the elbows in. And then we're going to bend the knee towards the chest. Keep that demi-point with the foot. And straighten the leg to your thighs are parallel. So you've got a strong calf, strong arch. Knee to chest. And then straighten the leg. Knee to chest. And see if you can bring those thighs parallel. So you're wanting to keep pushing out through the ball of the foot, pressing towards the wall at the end of your mat rather than at the ceiling. You're supporting the front and back of the knee joint as you make kneecap thigh strong. Last two. And the next time you straighten the leg, we're going to hold there. Find the thighs parallel. Walk the hands up the band. So you've got straight arms. And then maybe for your abdominal tees, if you do want to put a block between the thighs, giving you a bit more focus on pelvic floor, lower belly, will protect the back a little bit more and strengthen pelvic floor. Otherwise, you're using your imaginary block, holding the legs stable. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, tuck the chin. Keep the arms straight, drop down through lower ribs. Maybe you can peel your shoulder blades off the floor. Maybe the lower ribs come off the floor. Draw navel to spine so lower back flattens and curls. And as you inhale, roll yourself back down, rest the head. Exhale, tuck the chin, keep those arms straight. Try not to use your biceps to come up. Use your belly muscles, and it doesn't matter if you're not coming all the way up. It's breathing out, curling, and breathing in to roll back. Maybe if you want to do this without your band. Inhale, rest back. Exhale, tuck the chin, draw through lower ribs, reaching up. Inhaling to roll back, so you can keep the thighs parallel, especially if you haven't got the block. Inhale to roll back, just 3 more. Exhale to curl up. Inhaling back. Exhaling up. And last one, inhale back. Exhale up. And then inhaling back, we're going to bring that knee in towards the chest. Hug the knee, remove the band, give your foot a couple of rotations. Back the other way. And then bring that left leg in as well so you can stretch out through lower back. Little rock from side to side. And then we'll take anything out from underneath the head. So you're going to rest the head on the floor. We're going to bring the block in between the thighs. So you might bring the block so it's skinny ways up quite close to the groin. Or if you're comfortable, bringing the block so it's width ways in between the thighs so that you can have heels, knees and hips in line. Just depends on leg shape as to whether you want width or skinny ways. And sliding the heels up closer towards the buttocks, so you've got knees directly above the ankles, the heels, and then spreading the toes, and then pressing down through the palms of the hands so you can sink back through the shoulder blades, peel open the collarbones, and start to rock the pelvis back and forth. So as you give the block a squeeze, draw the sit bones together so lower back flattens. And then spread the sit bones nice and wide, like you're tapping the tail, lower back curves. Sit bones together. And then sit bones wide. And then as you draw the sit bones together, see if you can peel just the sacrum off the floor, but your lower back stays on the floor. A crease and fold comes just underneath the belly button. And then rolling the sacrum back down, tap the tail as you spread the sit bones. This time as you draw the sit bones together, peel the sacrum and maybe the lower back off the floor, coming up to those lower ribs, crease and fold above the belly button. And then rolling yourself back down. Spread the sit bones, tap the tail, draw the sit bones together, peel the sacrum, the lower back, maybe the lower ribs off the floor, and then rolling yourself down, one vertebra at a time. And there's 3 more at your own pace. Use the sit bones coming together to help you peel your way up. Lift the hips towards the ceiling, take a breath in. And as you breathe out, slowly roll down 1 vertebrae, 1 inch at a time. There's 2 more. Leaving at the tip of your tail just that little bit closer towards the end of the mat. Last one. And then as you lift yourself up there, we're going to hold there. Take the arms out wide so palms are face up. As you keep drawing the sit bones together, reaching your knees, your shins towards the end of the mat. And so using that strength of glute to try and lift the front of the hips up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, lower the tail down to the floor, spread the sit bones. And as you breathe out, bring sit bones together, lift the hips towards the ceiling. Spread the sit bones, tap the tail, a little bit of an arch through lower back. And then bring the sit bones together, lift and open through the front of the hips. Finding that little bit of power through your glutes, your lower back, and your hamstrings. Keeping a squeeze on the block so pelvic floor muscles are active. That's counting 3 more. Keeping long back of neck, nose and chin in line with the breastbone. And the next time you lower yourself down, let the back of the pelvis land. Squeeze the knees together, bring knees in towards the chest, give them a hug. And have a little rock from side to side. And then from here, we're going to rest the feet on the floor. This time sliding the feet a little bit further away from the buttocks. So you feel you've got that little bit of a natural lightness, a curve to your lower back. And then we'll raise the arms up, interlace the fingers, give your wrists a bit of a rotation. And now clasp the hands behind the head so you can lift the elbows just off the floor. You can just see them in your peripheral vision. And then hug into the armpits, so your shoulder blades are just slid down the back body. As you keep that hug into the armpits, hover the head. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, curling up, looking between the thighs, but this time see if you can keep the sit bones wide and reach the pubic bone towards your toes. Inhaling back to a hover, and then exhaling, curling up, draw ribs to hips, breastbone to belly button. Inhaling back, exhaling, curling up. And each time you curl up, have a look at your pelvis. If your pelvis is tipping backwards and pubic bones drawing towards your belly button, just using those lower belly muscles, see if you can keep pelvis in neutral. Sit bones in their little micro flare. Inhale the head back, exhale, curling up, breastbone to belly button. Just targeting the upper abdominals. Hugging into those armpits, Head's as heavy as a bowling ball, so you're not actually pulling the head up nor pressing up with the face. Just 3 more. Exhale, inhale back. And the next time you bring your head back onto the floor, bring your knees in towards the chest. Have a little rock. And then we're going to bring our little micro band and place it over the legs. So just above the knees, around the thighs. So you're going to come back to your bridge position, bringing your feet hip width apart, so space between your ankles and your knees, just like you could fit that block there again. And then heels are closer towards the buttocks, so you've got a knees stacked over the ankles. And then this time we're going to start with the arms out wide, palms face up. And then really spread the toes and imagine that block is between your thighs again. You can feel the ball of your big toes, but your knees can't quite knock together. And then put a little bit of effort into the outer edge of your heels. I'm going to hover the pelvis just off the floor, long back of neck, shoulders relaxed. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to draw the sit bones together and lift the hips towards the ceiling. Press the knees wide as you press into the ball of the big toes. Knees back in line with hips, and then hover the pelvis. Lift the hips, press the knees wide, knees back in line with hips, and then lower to that hover. So keep going at your own pace. It's not so much that you want to roll on the outside edge of your feet. You want to keep that ball of big toe pressing into the floor. So all the action is coming from the outside of the hips, the glutes. Just counting 3 more. And the next time you lift yourself up, we'll hold there, pulsing the knees wide back in, wide back in. Grounding through the ball of the big toes. Feet are nice and flat, front of hips open, sit bones together, just 5 more. 3, 2, 1. And then bring the pelvis back onto the floor. Give your knees a hug in towards the chest. And then this time I'm going to slide the band down around the arches of the feet. So around the tops of the feet. And this one, if you have got a lighter band, you might like to start with the lighter band and work your way up. So we're going to put a little bit of tension on the band, like you've still got that block between your thighs, but this will activate through the outer hips. So you're going to flex the feet like you're standing on them. Bring your block so that's underneath the back of the head. So you've already got a little bit of an incline, and those lower ribs will settle down to help working the upper belly. Arms down beside you. You're going to take a breath in and bring knees towards the chest. And as you breathe out, push out through the heels like you're pressing the feet into the wall, so you feel that lightness come into your lower back, but keep those lower ribs down. Inhale, knees to chest. And exhale, press out through the heels. Inhale, knees to chest. Keep the heels in line with hips as you exhale, press out through the heels. Feel that tone switch on through the belly. Inhale, knees to chest. Exhale, press out through the heels. Just 1 more as you inhale, knees to chest. Exhale, press out through the heels and bring those knees so they're directly above the hips. Keep that little bit of tension on the band, separating the feet, and feet are flexed. We're going to clasp the hands behind the head, lift the elbows so you can see them in your vision, hug into the armpits. Find that little micro flare of your sit bone so the tip of the tail is a little bit heavy, but your lower ribs are down, just a little curve in your lumbar. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to push out through that right foot, but try and keep the left leg where it is. And make the right leg really strong. Lower ribs are down. Inhale, knee back above the hip. Exhale, push out through the left leg. You can always do this one without the band. So if it does feel like it's a little too strong, just pushing out through the heel, making that kneecap and thigh nice and strong. And if you like, you could hover the head above the block, hug into those armpits. Exhale, and drawing down through those lower ribs. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. There's 2 more with each leg. Last one with your left leg. And then we'll bring the knees back in towards you. Give them a hug, let the feet go floppy. And then we're going to slide the band back up over the thighs. And you're going to keep the knees, the ankles together, big toes touching. And then bring the arms just down to the side, so about a 45-degree angle off the edge of the mat. Hug into the armpits. And then start drawing circles on the ceiling with both your knees. As you keep a little bit of a squeeze of the knees together, you're working through pelvic floor from the inner thighs. And keep those lower ribs down, just the lower back will be rising and falling as you rotate on the sacrum. Shoulders away from ears, jaw relaxed. If you want to make it a little stronger, you lift your shins, open the back of knees. Makes the legs longer, they're heavier. And if you still want to make it a little bit stronger, extend the legs. Try and keep those lower ribs down, hug into the armpits, protect the neck. And then going back the other way. And then start to bend the knees. And then eventually drawing circles on the ceiling with both your knees again. And then bringing the knees back in towards the chest and let the lower back soften. Breathe into back body, side ribs. And then we'll drop feet to the floor. We're going to keep that block underneath the head and roll to our side. So you might like to have your little hand towel underneath the head as well. And then we're going to line up the back of the shoulders, the back of the pelvis, and the soles of the feet. So imagine there's a wall at the back of your mat, and you've got shoulder blades, pelvis and feet on that wall. And then with your hand on your top hip, let that lower waist feel nice and soft, so your spine's gone into a little bit of a banana shape. And then with that top sit bone, we're going to reach it out towards our heel, that top heel. So you've just lengthened the top waist and lightened the lower waist. Find that little bit of tone across your lower belly, the micro flare of sit bones and length through tail. And then as you inhale, we're going to separate the knees, and exhale, bring the knees back together. If it does feel a little strong, maybe lower the intensity of the band, or you could even tie your Theraband around your thighs and make it a little bit less tight. So working into that external rotator in the hip, you want to try and keep that hip bone really still. So you're not so much rolling the pelvis back as you open the knee up, keeping that tone across your core, pelvis staying stable, lower waist light. Inhaling, lift, exhaling to lower. 3 more. And then from here, we're going to bring the knees together, separate the feet. So you've got that little bit of an internal rotation in the hip. Inhale, lift the knee, exhale, tap. So you want to try and keep that ankle higher than the knee. So different muscle through the side of the hip working. See if you can still keep that little bit of tone through the belly, lightness through that lower waist. And just 3 more. And then relax the legs down. Give your buttock and thigh a little bit of a pump. And then we'll swap over and do the other side. So feel free to roll over, face the other way. You can come down the other end of the mat. Stacking the shoulders, the pelvis, the feet up against that imaginary wall. So then as you lengthen through that top sit bone towards the heel, your lower waist gets lighter. And then find the tone through the core as you micro flare the sit bones, like you're sticking your butt out behind. But then lengthen the tail towards the heel, so you've got not so much compression through lower back, tone through the belly. And coming into your clam as you inhale, lift, exhale, lower. So that external rotation through the hip, whilst keeping the tone across the belly. And try not to let that pelvis roll back. Use 3 more. And then we'll bring knees together, separate the feet so the foot is higher than the knee. A little bit of an internal rotation through that hip socket. And then separate the knee, tap the knee. So still wanting to keep that little bit of tone across your lower belly. Lower waist is light. Targeting a different muscle to the side of the hip. Glute medius. And just 3 more. And then we'll release the foot, the knee, give your buttock a little pummel. And then we're going to bring ourselves upright so we can take the little band off the legs. And to lay face down on the floor, you might like your head towel for something underneath your forehead. Maybe any other props. Unless you have got any tenderness through your lower back laying face down, you could lay a folded blanket underneath the pelvis and the belly, maybe even the upper ribs. It'll give the lower back a little bit more length. So once you come down to laying on your belly, we'll give the quadriceps a stretch so we can open up the front of the hips to do a little bit of hip extensor work. So we're going to bring our right heel towards the buttock and reach out through the right knee. And then draw your sit bones together so you're pressing pubic bone towards the floor. And it's really reaching out through that right knee. And it's finding some deep breaths up and down front of belly, right hip, thigh, knee to ankle. And then we'll swap over, releasing that right leg. Bring left heel to buttock. Bring sit bones together. So you're nice and heavy through the pubic bone, long through the lower back, the tail. And finding the breath all the way down the belly, front of left hip, thigh, knee to ankle. And then releasing the left leg so that you can bring your head comfortably looking towards the right. And then bring your arms down beside the body with your palms face down, so your thumbs are turning out. And then your little fingers might just slide slightly underneath the front of the thighs. Placing your feet so they're hip-width apart, so toes are pointing out in line with the knees, the hips, the shoulders. And starting to bring those sit bones together again, so you feel that heaviness through the pubic bone a little bit, with length through lower back and tone through lower belly. And then we're going to squeeze into our left buttock and raise that left leg off the floor. Now that you've made that nice open front of hip and thigh, and then start to circle from the left hip, reaching out through the big toe. And see if you can keep the pubic bone and left and right hip bones heavy. So you're trying to keep the pelvis as stable as possible using your core. Neck, shoulders and jaw relaxed. Just finding that left buttock crease to help you raise the leg, the power from the glute and the hamstring. Going back in the opposite direction as you reach out through toes, nice straight legs, so try not to bend the knee and make the hamstring do all the work. Lift up on kneecap, target your glute. There's 3 more circles in this direction. And then relax the leg down. Give your hips a bit of a shimmy from side to side. Let your buttocks, lower back go like jelly. And then we'll turn the head towards the left, resting on the right cheek. Draw the sit bones together so you got that heaviness of pubic bone, length through lower back, tone through belly. And then squeezing the right buttock, raising the right leg, nice open front of hip. And then rotating from the hip, using the power from that buttock crease. Reach out through toes, see if you can keep the pelvis as stable as possible. So left and right hip bone and pubic bone heavy. Lower back is long. Shoulders, neck and jaw relaxed. And find that power from your glute. Have the leg really straight, kneecap, thigh strong. Going back the other way, reach out through toes, squeeze into the buttock. Breathing low and wide into the body. And last 3 circles. And then relax the leg down, go hip bone to hip bone, buttocks, lower back go like jelly. And then bring your forehead to the floor, maybe a folded hand towel underneath the forehead if you need a little bit more support through neck or with the nose. And then we'll bring our arms into a bit of a W shape. So elbows are bent, elbows lower than the shoulders, palms face down. And then from here, we're going to draw down through the sit bones, pubic bones heavy, and raise both your legs off the floor. Take the feet as wide as the mat. And then squeeze the big toes together, but keep a bit about an inch between your heels. Inhale, legs wide. Exhale, squeeze big toes to core. Inhale, wide. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, exhale. And if you're comfortable to, you can lift the face, the forehead, the shoulders, the arms off the floor. Inhale, arms out, legs wide. Exhale, squeeze in. Inhale. Exhale. Just 3 more. And the next time you squeeze everything in, bring the hands beside the chest. Press into the floor to come back into a child pose. So you're going to bring maybe forehead onto the back of the hands. Or maybe forehead on a block or the floor. You might bring your arms beside your legs, or maybe you're laying on your back, giving your knees a hug. And it's letting the breath come into the back body, so you're making all that space across lower back, the base ribs, and in between the shoulder blades as you breathe. And stretching out all those muscles that you were just working from your buttock crease to back of head. And then bring hands beside your face so you can slowly peel your way upright. Then we're going to turn around onto our buttock, making the space so you can roll yourself down. You might like to have your hand towel ready, maybe your bolster ready for Shavasana. And if you do have any tenderness through lower back or sacroiliac joint, you'll put the block in between your thighs, either skinny ways or width ways. And then sitting up tall into sit bones, take a breath in. As you breathe out, draw the sit bones together, scoop through the belly. Inhale up nice and tall. Exhale, squeezing your block or your imaginary block. Inhaling up tall. And keep going at your own pace, scooping through the sit bones, scooping under through the tail. Maybe you might release the arms. Inhaling up, exhaling, and then coming back as far as is comfortable for your lower back. 3 more. The next time you come back, maybe you're going to come down with hands and elbows, so you might use your abdominal muscles, rolling yourself back down 1 vertebra at a time. So that you can bring the arms out wide, step the right foot in, bring the left foot on top of the right thigh, flex the left foot, and then we're going to thread the left arm between the legs, hold on to back of thigh, or the right shin, and it's giving that left glute a stretch as you press the left knee wide, maybe with the elbow, and then press down through the tip of your tail, so you're feeling a little bit of a lightness through your lower back and more broadening into that left hip. And if you're not quite able to pick the foot up off the floor, you can place your block underneath right foot and press that left knee wide from there, keeping right waist long. And just finding 5 more breaths there as you soften into your left buttock. Maybe you're hugging that right knee a little closer and then pressing your tip of tail to the floor. You might even put a block or hand towel underneath the head, especially if your chin is poking. And then from here, we're going to release the right foot to the floor. Keep the left leg on top. We're going to shuffle our right foot to the left side of the mat so that then you can drop down to the right with the knee and that left foot so that the left foot can be flat on the floor. Your left knee is pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to stretch into a small muscle here, into that left hip that we were using before with the band. So as you ground into that left foot, start to press your left knee towards the end of the mat, so you're pressing it away from you, but then wanting that left hip to sink back towards the floor, so you're getting a stretch through that side of hip there. Maybe bring the arms wide, pressing left knee to end of mat, sinking back through left pelvis. And it's taking 5 more breaths there. And then bring your head back to center. Slowly bring those legs back to center. And we'll wiggle the right foot back across to the right side. Left foot onto right side of the mat. Placing right foot on top of left. And then maybe you might have that block under the left foot, or you might thread your right arm between the legs, hold on to the back of left thigh. And as you flex that right ankle, it means you'll stabilize the ankle, so you're not going to twist into the ankle instead of the hip. So flex the foot, and then you can broaden the back of the right hip by pressing the knee wide, and then pressing down through the tip of the tail. Just breathing out, softening into right buttock. It's 5 more breaths there. And then we'll release. Left foot to the floor, so you can shuffle your left foot to the right side of the mat. And then as you drop your knee and the foot towards the left, putting your right foot flat on the floor, and then pressing your knee towards the end of the mat. So you're going to get that stretch into the side of the hip as the right pelvis sinks back and right knee presses away from you. Arms out wide, maybe roll the head to the right. There's 5 more breaths. Pressing down through that right knee, sinking back through right pelvis. And then bringing the head back to center, slowly bring the knees back to center. We'll give the knees a hug in towards the chest. If you have got a block under head, you might keep it there. And we'll come into happy baby. So as you take the knees wide, bring the arms inside the legs, maybe hold on to your ankles, flex the feet. Or if you can reach, hold on to the arches of the feet. And then take your heels up towards the ceiling. And use your arm strength to press the knees to the floor underneath the armpits. Keep back of neck long, slight tuck through the chin. And then pressing the tip of the tail towards the floor. So as if you want to keep a lengthened spine from tail to back of skull. And it's taking 5 deep breaths there, expanding all the way down into the pelvis, the hips, the belly, the waist. And filling all that space through the lower back ribs where your kidneys are. They're opening up as you breathe. And then slowly release the feet back towards one another. Release the legs, bring them back in. Moving a bolster across the mat so you can lay out in Shavasana. And it's taking any blocks out from underneath the head, maybe just a folded blanket or a hand towel. And give the neck a little stretch. So you're going to wrap the elbows around the ears, clasping hands behind the head. Peel the head off of the floor so you can look down towards your belly button. And then looking underneath the left armpit. Underneath the right. As you come back to center, slowly release the back of the head to the floor. Release the arms out wide so palms are face up. And feeling that heaviness through the sacrum. Buttocks soft as it spreads broad across the floor. Just letting the hips relax, the legs, the feet feel heavy. And every time you breathe out, you can feel the weight of the lower body from pelvis to feet sinking deeper. Just feeling the weight of the spine from sacrum to back of skull. And the weight of the rib cage, the shoulder blades, the arms. Just taking a moment of gratitude for your legs, your hips, your knees, your feet, even your toes. A moment of gratitude for the support coming from the core, the abdominals, the lower back. And then really surrendering it back into the floor. As you find that low, wide breath, you're giving your diaphragm a smooth, rhythmic flow, which will in turn release tension through the psoas, the back body, down into the hips by toning the pelvic floor, just by the way you breathe. Feeling the expansion through waist, back body and belly as you breathe in. And then everything drawing back into your core as you breathe out. Just tuning the mind into the flow of the breath. Nothing else. Breathing in and breathing out. You might choose to stay here for a little longer in Shavasana, or if you're ready to come out, start to give your fingers, your toes a little wiggle. And gradually raise the arms up and overhead, coming into a full body stretch as you reach through fingers and toes, taking a few deep breaths. And then bring knees in towards the chest. So you can slowly roll over onto your right side. Let's gradually peel your way up to seated. Let's bringing the arms out wide, taking in a deep breath as you reach up, palms together. And breathing out, bringing hands to your heart center. Bringing hands to forehead for purity of thought. Hands to lips for purity of speech. Hands to heart for purity of spirit. Namaste.